Hey guys, my name is Confident. Welcome to the 24-minute lesson excerpt where I will be sharing with you some ideas, some methods, some strategies or concepts that you can incorporate as you prepare for your final exams, be it you're studying for your mathematics N1, your N2 or your N3. Now, if these videos are handy and you are benefiting from them, you can actually press the like button, or if you've got some ideas, you can leave some comments below. If you also like to be notified of extra videos every time we post them, you can subscribe to our channel and then you'll get some notification every time there are new videos. And also, if you are interested in some of our resources, be it textbooks and some videos, you can check this at the end of this video. We will send you some information. Now let's check this concept out. Solving quadratic equations can be done in 3 different ways, and in this section or in this lesson, I'm going to show you the 3 ways in which you can solve a quadratic equation. Now, I'm giving an example here. It says simplify, or the right word is to say solve the following equation. And then it is a quadratic equation because it has got x squared. So it's x squared plus 7x minus 8 is equal to 0. Now, the fact that I've got x squared, it means I need to come up with 2 values of x. So now, as I said, there are 3 ways in which I can solve this equation. Now, let us look at the first method of solving the equation. And the first method is called the product sum method. So now, if I'm going to be using the product sum method to solve this equation, if I can write it again, I'm given, in this case, it is x squared plus 7x minus 8 is equal to 0. Now, if I'm going to use the product sum method, I have a 1 there. So it's 1x squared plus 7x minus 8 is equal to 0. So with my product sum method, what I do is I take this part, and together with the sign there, I take these, and what I do is they give me my product, I multiply them. So in this case, my product is equal to 1x squared times minus 8. I'm going to get minus 8x squared. So that is my product, and my sum, in this case, it is the number that is remaining. So this gives me my S for sum, or I can actually use this sign as positive for sum. So my sum is equal to plus 7x. So with that, I'm going to then look at the factors. Now, the factors that I'm looking for are the factors of 8 in this case. So you consider this number, the factors of 8. So now, if I want to find the factors of 8, the first one is 1 times 8. The second one is 2 times 4. So these are the 2 numbers which are 2 pairs of numbers which when I multiply them, I can get an 8. So if I say 1 times 8, I get an 8, and 2 times 4, I get an 8. Now, the product says I must get a negative 8, meaning one of the numbers must be negative. So if I put a negative there, it will give me minus 8. Or I can have 1 times minus 8. It will give me a negative 8. Or 2 times minus 4. It gives me a negative 8. So these are 4 different ways in which I can get a negative 8, which is my product. Remember, product means times. So if I can say minus 1 times 8, you can see I'm getting a negative 8, or minus 2 times, minus 2 times 4, I'm getting a negative 8, or 1 times negative 8, I'm getting a negative 8, or 2 times negative 4, it is giving me negative 8. So these are 4 different ways for me to get a negative 8. But now from these factors, what I need from this particular, for these 4 factors, I need to find the sum of plus 7. So I have to start adding these numbers, and I'm going to look for the one that will give me a positive 7. So if I say minus 1 plus 8, the first one, you see it's giving me a positive 7. So that is the one that will give me a sum of positive 7. But let me try the other factors so that you can see what they give me. It's minus 2 plus 4. It is giving me a positive 2, which is different from my sum. My sum must be a positive 7. Let me try the other one, which is 1 plus minus 8 is giving me a negative 7. It looks like the factor, or it looks like the same, but it is not a positive 7. So if it's a negative and a positive, these are two different. So I'm looking for the positive, but I'm getting a negative. And then a 2 plus minus 4 also gives me a negative 2. So the first one was minus 1 plus 8. It is the one that gave me a positive 7. So you can see that from that, the factor or the numbers that I'm looking for are these numbers. So what I just do is I have to write these numbers as my factors. In this case are, we said, if I can put them in red, it is minus 1x and it is a positive 8x. So these are my two factors. Now if I can rewrite now my problem where there is 7x, I must use these two factors. It will be x squared minus 1x plus 8x minus 8. It must give me a 0. Then when I've got 4 terms, I factorize by grouping, and by grouping I take my first 2 and I also take my last 2. So if I can group, what is common in the first 2 is x. So x into x squared, it's x minus x into minus 1. X, it is minus 1. And then after that is plus. What is common in the last 2 is 8. And then 8 into 8x is x. And then 8 into negative 8 is negative 1. So this gives me a 0. So you can see the brackets now are matching. I've got x minus 1. I've got x minus 1. So this is my first bracket, x minus 1. And what is outside the bracket? It is that and that, which becomes the second bracket of x plus 8. Remember, this must give me a 0. So when I'm now solving my equation, it says either x minus 1 is equal to 0, and then I'm going to take 1 to jump the equal sign. So I've got x is equal to 1. That's my first answer. My second answer is x plus 8 is equal to 0. Then again, I do the same thing. Let the 8 jump the equal sign to change sign from positive to negative. Therefore, it gives me x is equal to a negative 8. So this is the first way of solving using, we called it method 1, and I'm using my product sum method. Now, you can prove your answer by checking if you're correct. The simple way of doing it is to take your calculator. You take one of your first values of x. For example, my x is minus 8. I'm going to put that value in the original question, which is minus 8 bracket, it says x squared, so it's minus 8x squared plus 7 bracket negative 8 minus 8. It must give me a 0. So if I do that, you can see that it is giving me a 0. So this is a simple way of testing if your answers are correct. You can do the same thing with 1. So that is one way. Let us look at the second method of solving the similar question. Now we're looking at method 2. And method 2 uses the quadratic formula. So when I'm using the quadratic formula, let me write down the quadratic formula. It says that is another way of solving this equation, and the quadratic formula says x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac and then all over 2a. So most of the time they usually provide you with this formula, so if it is difficult for you to master, you do not need to cram it, but they can always provide you at the back of your question paper in the formula sheet. But it is always encouraged for you to know this particular formula, because with practice you might discover that you end up knowing. Now, one problem or mistake that students usually do, you might discover that their division line usually ends there. So if your division line ends there, it means that when you try to put your to input values in a calculator, you might end up getting wrong values. So make sure that your line extends up to minus b. So that is very critical. Okay, now when you have done this, if I can now write my quadratic formula, I mean, this is my quadratic formula. It is coming from the general formula, which says a x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So that is where it is coming from. Now, if I can match it with the equation that I'm given above, I've got x squared plus 7x minus 8 is equal to 0. So what I have in the beginning here is a 1. So now if I have managed to match my equation that I'm given, that I'm solving, to the general quadratic equation, and from that it can assist me now to be able to identify my a, my b, and my c, because my formula is in terms of a, b, c. So now how do I find my a? You can see that if I can do this, you can see this becomes my a as x squared and x squared are outside. Then you can see a and 1. It means my a there is equal to 1. I do the same thing. I have a positive, so I can ignore that, and then I move on to do that. Or just to so that you don't confuse next time, it doesn't matter the signs. You must take the sign of b together like that, so that you have a positive and a positive. So you can see b and 7, and then you have got x and x. So in this case, it means b is equal to 7. By 7, it means it's positive. And then lastly, you have that, and then you see you have a positive and a negative. Therefore, it means c is equal to negative 8. So when you have done that, you are now able to input the values in the formula. Remember, we are moving from here, which says x is equal to, now it says minus b, so I put my negative, and my b is 7, put a bracket, I put my 7, and I've got plus or minus, then I have my square root of b squared is 7 squared minus 4. My a in this case is a 1, so you put a bracket there to say my a is 1, and my c is negative 8. I think I need to extend my square root sign there. Okay, and then remember everything all over 2, and then bracket, my a is a 1. Remember the division sign must extend to minus 7. And then when I've done that, I've got now my x is equal to, now I always encourage you to use directly your calculator so that it can give you your answer straight away. So I will put a fraction first because I've got a division line there, and then I'll start with minus 7. Let us start with the top one, which is a positive, which is plus. You cannot automatically use a plus and minus at the same time, so you have to choose either you start with a positive or negative. It will still, remember, you must come up with two different answers. So I'm starting with a positive, and then plus square root of, and then in bracket. Okay, I can, even if I didn't put this bracket, it was going to be the same, but just to maintain the way I wrote it is the way I must punch it. So it's 7 close squared minus 4 into 1 into minus 8. So I've got that, and then play down, which is 2 into 1. So you see that the first answer, it gives me x is equal to 1. Now I just want to use to find both answers now. So if I play backwards, now I had a positive. Remember, the first one is x is equal to 1. Now I delete that to put a negative, and then x is equal to minus 8. So you've got two answers: x is equal to 1 or x is equal to negative 8. So these are the two answers for our two values of x, and this one uses the quadratic formula. So that's how you can solve that. And if you remember, the previous one also gave us x is equal to 1 and x is equal to minus 8 as we were solving them in this particular case. So which means our answer is also correct. Now let us look at the last method. Again, method number 3. It says we are going to solve this by completing a square. So how do you solve this by completing a square? So if I can take again my question that I'm given, it is x squared plus 7x minus 8 is equal to 0. So when I'm completing a square, the first thing I need to do is to take this particular number minus 8, I must make it jump the equal sign. It is negative, it is going to become positive. So I will have x squared plus 7x is equal to positive 8. Then when I've done that, I must then do the completing of a square. Now when I'm completing a square, the key thing that I'm going to focus on is the coefficient of x, and the coefficient of x is the number before x. It is this particular number. So that particular number is positive 7. So now when I am completing a square, I'm going to find half the coefficient of x. So this is how you write it. It will be x squared, and then you say plus 7x, and then you're going to say plus, as I said, it's half the coefficient of x squared. So I'm going to put that in brackets to see what I'm adding. So it will be 1 over 2, which is half, times the coefficient of x, remember, is 7. You put that and you put a square. So by doing that is equal to, remember, it is equal to 8, but what I do on the left hand side, I must also do on the right hand side. So I'll also say plus, in this case, and then have half the coefficient of x, which is 7, and then everything I put a square. So this is what they mean when they say complete a square. So if I can simplify this, I will have x squared plus 7x plus, now you can see that half of 7, I can leave it as 7 over 2 in this case. Now it will be 7 over 2. Remember, this is squared is equal to, but now on the right hand side of the equal sign, I'm going to simplify that and give it 8 plus bracket which is 1 over 2, and then times 7, and then I'm going to square that. You can see I'm getting 81 over 4. So with that, so when I've done that, this continues then to say, after I've managed to simplify the right hand side, I want you to focus now on this square, and I want you to focus on this square, which is the power of 2. So how will I write this? If I'm completing a square, I will say x, which is the one that has that particular square, as you can see, and I'm going to say plus the other one that is a square is this part, which I will write as 7 over 2. Now I'm going to put this particular square outside like that. I hope you're seeing this is equal to 81 over 4. So when I've done that, this is what they mean when they say complete a square. I've managed to complete a square in this way. So now how do I simplify that? For me to be able to simplify that, I must get rid of this particular square. And to get rid of this square, it will be x plus 7 over 2. Now remember, it is a square. So now to remove this square, what I need to input a square root. That's how I remove the square, is equal to 81 over 4. But remember, again, what you do on the left, you do on the right. So I also put a square root. But now on the right hand side, you say plus or minus, so that you can have two answers. So now when you simplify further, you're going to have x plus 7 over 2. So because of the square root, this particular square root will get rid of this power 2. So now you've got x plus 7 over 2 is equal to, if you then take a calculator and find your square root of 81 over 4, it gives you 9 over 2. So you've got that as you've got 9 over 2 there. So now with this, you continue. Remember, you're solving for x. You're going to take this value of 7 so that it joins, it jumps the equal sign to join 9 over 2. So you're going to have x is equal to, and again, just before I forget, remember you've got plus or minus on this other side. So it will be x is equal to plus or minus, which is 9 over 2. Now 7 over 2 will change from positive to negative 7 over 2. Then it means you are going to have, in this case, two answers. The first one will be x is equal to, take the positive one, which is 9 over 2 minus 7 over 2. Then if you simplify that, it will give you, if you can simplify that, which is 9 over 2 minus, again, 7 over 2. It gives me a 1 there. So the first one gives me a 1. The second one is x is equal to, it is actually negative 9 over 2 minus 7 over 2. And if I can also simplify that one, it'll be negative 9 over 2 minus 7 over 2. If you simplify that, you can see it gives me a negative 8. So now you can see that I'm coming up with the similar answers that I got previously. And if x is equal to 1, x is equal to minus 8. And if you go backwards, you'll see x is equal to 1, x is equal to minus 8. I go again backward, it is x is equal to 1 and x is equal to minus 8. So what I am showing you here are 3 different ways of simplifying a quadratic equation. As I said, the first one, you can use the product sum method. The second one, you can use the quadratic equation, and the third one is using completing a square. Now you can always check all of these individual methods in my 24-minute lesson where I cover them in detail. I cover in detail the completing of a square. I cover in detail the quadratic formula use, even the derivation, how it is derived. And I also cover in detail the product sum method. Check them out on my 24-minute lesson. Now, if you found this lesson informative, remember to press the like button so that next time you get we post a new video, you can be able to get a notification. We have come to the end of our lesson. Thank you. I hope the video that you just watched was of benefit to you, and as I said, if you benefited from the video, you can press the like button or you can leave us a comment below. And if you want to be notified of these videos, you can always subscribe to our channel. Now, if you want the full curriculum of this mathematics, if you're studying for mathematics N1, N2 or N3 and you want the test book as well as the videos, we have a full curriculum of the mathematics N1, N2, N3 as well as the accompanying videos. We also have videos of the previous question papers, the latest papers that were written in video form. These question papers can assist you as you prepare for your exams. We also have PDF version of the previous question papers that were written since 2014 until now. And if you want them, you can check all the information from our website, and trust me, these will become very handy to you. We sell them at a very discounted prices, and it is worth the try. Thank you.